Okay, welcome to the last section of this project management knowledge area, the project procurement management. In this section, we're going to be discussing control procurements. And this has to do with how to monitor and control your procurement processes. Alright, in the first section we looked at plan procurement. In the second section we looked at conduct procurement. So now we're going to be looking at how do we control the processes involved in our procurement management. Okay, so without further ado, let's jump into the meat of the matter. Alright, so a quick overview of control procurement. Now, control procurement is a crucial phase in project management, and it focuses on managing and administering the procurement relationships established during the project. Okay, so it all has to do with the relationships that have been established, the procurement relationships. When we talk about procurement relationship, we're talking about the relationship between the project team, all right, headed by the project manager, and the stakeholder involved in the procurement process. All right, you can call him the contractor or the seller. All right, so the procurement relationship is between the project manager, the project team, and the organization or the firm or the company or the group that is going to be standing as the seller, all right, or the contractor or whoever it is that will be providing the product or the service that is required to carry out the project. I hope that's clear. All right, so it involves monitoring and controlling procurement related processes to ensure that the project's objectives are met and that both the buyer and seller adhere to the agreed terms and conditions. Okay, what makes procurement management sweet is the agreed terms and conditions being actually adhered to. All right, normally in procurement, when you have a relationship between a buyer and a seller, they are agreed terms. All right, so if these terms are adhered to and everybody stands by their own part of the agreement, everyone fulfills their own part of the agreement, then the whole process is going to flow smoothly, all right, without any hiccup. Okay, so this control procurement is all about monitoring and controlling the processes involved in the procurement. All right, number one, to ensure that the project's objectives are met, all right, as a result of this procurement, and then also the agreements that have been reached between the project team, who is the buyer now, and the contractor, who is the seller now. Okay, the agreed terms are adhered to. All right, so by the end of this section, you should be able to understand the purpose and importance of the control procurement process, identify the inputs, tools, and techniques, as well as the output of this process. And then you'll also learn how to monitor and control procurement related processes. Okay, so let's move on. Alright, so what are the objectives of control procurement process? And the primary objectives of control procurement include overseeing contract performance. Alright, So the project management team is saddled with the responsibility of overseeing the contract performance, right? The contract that has been awarded, okay, it has to be performed, it has to be carried out to the letter and in line with the product management plan, okay, and aimed at meeting the objectives of the project. Okay, so a very vital aspect of control procurement is overseeing the performance of the contract, all right, that has been awarded to the seller, to ensure that he does what he's supposed to do, when he's supposed to do it, and how he's supposed to do it, okay, to meet the project's objective. Secondly, managing changes and disputes in the life cycle of the project and during the procurement process. You might have changes here and there, all right, and maybe conflicts, disagreements here and there. So in this control procurement, this is where we manage those changes and those disputes and ensure that, all right, whatever changes that we're going to be making, right, will not have adverse significant impact on the project outcome or the deliverable, okay. And if peradventure any dispute or disagreement arises, they are properly managed and then of course resolved, okay. Thirdly, ensuring that the terms of the procurement agreement are fulfilled. Okay, so we have terms, we have agreements, all right. Control procurements tends to ensure that those terms and agreements are fulfilled and everyone is happy, okay. Now this phase aims to maintain a healthy relationship between the buyer, which is the project team at this time, and the seller, the contractor, throughout the project life cycle, okay. Now procurement is something that takes place throughout the project life cycle. The procurement relationship is going to go on throughout the life cycle of the project, okay. So it has to be properly managed and to ensure that everyone keeps to the agreement or the agreed terms and conditions, okay. So moving on, let's look at the inputs in the control procurement process. The first one is the project management plan. Now this provides the framework for managing and controlling procurement activities. So we have our grand project management plan, our overall plan for the project. So whatever activities that we're going to be engaging in the procurement management and especially the control procurement process, it has to be in line with the framework, all right, of the project management plan, okay. Procurement documents. Now these are formal agreements and contracts negotiated and signed with suppliers. So you have agreements, you have terms, you have conditions, you have contracts, okay. So all these things have their various documents called procurement documents. So they all come as inputs in the control procurement process, because you're going to be ensuring that these terms and conditions, these agreements, are adhered to, all right. Everybody is very aware of them and they are working in line with the terms and agreements. Approved change requests. Now this documents changes that have been approved and may impact procurements. So the approved change request is a documentation of the changes that have been approved, okay. And not just any kind of change, but changes that have been proven to have significant impact on the procurement process and even on the project outcome itself, okay. So when you make change requests, if the change requests are approved, then you have to have those documents as inputs so as to take cognizance and apply those changes as the procurement progresses. Work performance data. These are information on how well the project and procurement activities are performing. So you need to have this in perspective. You need to know what is going on well, all right, so as to double down and improve upon it, and as well as what is not going on well, okay, so as to address them. Okay, so that's where this work performance data comes in as an input in the control procurement process. Okay, so let's look at the tools and techniques in this process. Firstly, we have contract change control system. Contract change control system. This is a system to document, track, and manage changes to procurement contracts. So as a project manager working with your project team, and then you have a contracting firm or a seller, you need to have a system put in place, all right, that can enable you to document, to track, and to manage all the changes to the procurement contract. Okay, so you have to be able to put a system in place to help you do this. Number 2, procurement performance reviews. Procurement performance reviews. This has to do with assessing the seller's performance against the terms of the contract. Okay, so as the procurement process is ongoing, you have to be carrying out reviews, performance appraisal, okay, assessments of how the seller or the selling agency or company or the contractor, how he's carrying out the contract. Okay, so how is it performing, and is it in line with the agreed terms? If yes, then all is fine and good, but if no, then the attention of the person in charge has to be called upon and say, hey, look at the agreement we have, but that's not what you're doing. You're doing a different thing entirely. All right, so we need to correct this and that. Okay, so that's what this procurement performance reviews tends to accomplish. Inspections and audits. Now, of course, when you have a contract going on, you must have a team that is involved in inspection and audit. So that's a technique in procurement management. Verifying that the seller is fulfilling contractual obligations through inspections and audits. So you must carry out regular inspections and audits, okay, during the project life cycle to ensure that the contractual obligations are being fulfilled. Okay, payment systems. These are processes for authorizing and releasing payments to the seller based on their performance. So you definitely have to have a system in place for processing of payments, releasing funds to the contractor or the seller, right? And of course, money or the funds is the lifeblood of any project. So based on the agreed terms and duration or interval or the point in the project life cycle that funds are supposed to be released to the contractors, the system that has been put in place is supposed to ensure that those funds go out to the contractors or to the seller, right, so that they will not become handicapped and the project will grind to a screeching halt. Okay, and that affects everything. So you want to ensure that you have these payment systems in place, okay, to ensure continuity of the project. So that's it with the tools and techniques. We have the contract change control system, the procurement performance reviews, inspections and audits, as well as payment systems. Okay, so on we go. And let's see the output from this process. Firstly, work performance information. Work performance information. These are information on how well procurement activities are being executed. Now, from your performance reviews, okay, you now have work performance information. Okay, this is an output, a deliverable, or the data that is derived from that particular activity, the performance reviews. Okay, so with this data, you can now tell how well the contracting firm or the seller is carrying out the job he is meant to do. Okay, change requests, proposals for modifications to procurement documents or agreements. Now, based on the work performance information, there might be need to make some changes, all right, at one point or the other. Changes in agreements, changes in the terms, changes in product specification, service specifications. Okay, so those change requests are going to come in if there is need for it. Okay, and it comes in as an output from this process. Procurement documentation updates. These are revisions to procurement documents to reflect changes or corrections. So based on the change requests, and then of course the assessment of the need and the significance of those changes, if and when they are approved, you now have updates, okay, to the procurement documents. So you review them, revise them, and ensure that whatever changes have been approved to be effected, that they are updated on the procurement documents. Okay. Alright, so what are the key takeaways from the procurement, the control procurement process? Firstly, control procurement is about managing and monitoring procurement relationships and agreements. Okay, so you have to ensure that that is moving and running smoothly, procurement relationships. Alright. It involves overseeing contract performance, managing changes, and resolving disputes. Okay, so the vital aspect of the control procurement is overseeing the performance of the contract by the selling or the seller organization. Right, and in cases where there are changes, to manage those changes. Right, if there are going to be transition, to manage them properly. There's going to be a change of equipment, or a change of the item that needs to be supplied, or a change in the delivery process, or even a change in the seller themselves, or himself, or itself. All right, those changes need to be managed effectively. And then if disputes arises, there has to be a system in place to resolve those disputes. Okay, those are part of controlling the procurement. Now, regular performance reviews and inspections are crucial for ensuring that the seller meets contractual obligations. So the crucial part of the control procurement is regular performance reviews and inspections. Okay, and you don't just do it for the sake of it or to fulfill all righteousness, as is obtained in some places. All right, especially in this part of the world, when you see especially in the case of government agencies, all right, who have been assigned the responsibilities for inspecting performance, okay, performance of contractors. You see them, most of them can be, nonchalant about it, instead of actually being objective in the review process. They go there and they try to seek something from the contractor, and when the contractor is not doing the right thing, instead of correcting the contractor and ensuring that he does the right thing, then they start looking for their own cuts so they can turn the other side. That's not professional and it's not ethical. As a project manager, you have to be professional, you have to be ethical, all right? You have to be objective. When you go for inspections or performance reviews, you're objective, okay? You work in line with the project management plan, you work in line with the terms, the agreements, and the procurement documents, and ensure that the seller are meeting those contractual obligations. Not going there to seek your own courts, if I may use the local parlance. Okay, so this is very, very important. Now, also, effectively navigating the control procurement phase is essential for maintaining a positive and productive relationship with vendors and ensuring the successful execution of procurement activities. Okay, so you have to be able to effectively navigate those control procurement phase, okay, and ensure that the relationships between the buying team or the project management team and the seller team or the contractor firm or agency, that you have a positive and productive relationship, okay? Because when there's conflict, then it's going to affect a whole lot of things, okay? So conflict management and resolution of disputes is very, very important for a smooth and seamless project execution. Okay, so that is it with the control procurement process and the project procurement management knowledge area. So I believe by now you are well versed in the project procurement management. You are able to plan the procurement management. You are well able to conduct the procurement, and you are also capable of controlling the procurement process. All right, so with that, I'll leave you here and we'll see in the next module, that is next week. So cheers, bye for now.